Do you think the cover page for this chapter, like the color spread, has anything to do with the Wano arc coming up? Because the samurai theme is all over the place in this, and I'm really curious as to why Oda only drew the first 5 members of the crew, because he usually draws them all. The beginning of this chapter was just freaking hilarious, and I like it because it's humorous, but at the same time, it highlights a very important point in that crews in the New World need a navigator in order to get through this shit. And, you know, I just like how it brings importance to Nami. Luffy, for the most part, doesn't genuinely freak out unless he doesn't have his crew. But in this, he's like, oh, sure, we're gonna drown, where is Nami? The only one of the Straw Hats who you can tell she's actually having like a sort of a good time from this is Robin. It's really funny because usually you don't get to see pirates running around the deck looking like chickens with their heads cut off. But so I appreciated the gag, and I think it's kind of implied that the only reason why the Barto Club ship has been able to make it this far is because of Bartolomeo's barrier fruit. That he puts up barriers to like safeguard the ship and shit, because Granny ain't doing shit. Use the ice on the bubblegum, yes, that will solve your problems. No, but seriously, the Barto Club really needs a navigator, so I'm wondering if they can get one in Zou. Then we go to Marine HQ, and Kizaru, is that a new suit? I'm looking at the stripes and they look like thicker. The dark lines look thicker. But anyway, I think he's clipping his nails, which I think just goes along with his character. But this is crazy. The report says that this guy called Edward Weeble, he's actually taken out the guys that were serving under Whitebeard. This is the 16th captain that he's taken out. And there's a total, the death toll as of right now is about like 600. I'm guessing the way the conflict escalates in this case is that Edward Weeble says, hey, I'm actually the legitimate son of Whitebeard. And then the captains are like, fuck no, you are not related to Pops, I'm sorry. That pisses him off, and he ends up killing everybody. The problem here is that he's killing civilians. So, yeah, he's kind of abusing, like, the freedom of a Shichibukai. But Kizaru doesn't really seem to care. He's just like, oh! But he's super powerful. He has a former bounty of 480, which is above Zoro, but below Luffy in law. And Kizaru says that his strength is similar to that of what Whitebeard had in his youth, all right? And if you look at the island where he's walking around, you see a ship, but the ship is inland. Like, that shit is on the island. How the fuck did that ship get... I mean, he must have actually thrown that ship inside. So he's chubby, bordering on buff. He has some scars, which kind of like made me think at first he was like some type of a reanimated zombie. The translation I read said that he talks like... He sounds like he has a runny nose. We meet his mom, Miss Baki, who, as it turns out, she's the one pulling the strings. You can tell this lady is the one manipulating him, because he doesn't, like, Whitebeard Jr. doesn't seem too bright. So I'm guessing that this lady actually was the one to tell him, hey, you're related to Whitebeard, and I'm going to use you because I want some money. She just cares about the money, and using, you know, Edward Weeble there for muscle. I've already read and heard some people say that she might be Lola's mom. After last week, when we got the silhouette of Big Mom, that makes more sense because Big Mom in that poster that we got didn't look a lot like Lola, per se. So for right now, this woman being Lola's mom, that theory to me makes more sense as of right now. Anyway, we did get to see Edward Weeble's hair in the previous chapter in that spread where we see the major players. Worst Generation, Yonko, Shichibukai. It's just, you know, I think it's below Buggy. Personally, I don't think that this Whitebeard Jr. is even remotely related to Whitebeard, just because Whitebeard's goal in life was to have a family. So why would he want a family if he had a son already? I don't know, that just makes no sense. Also, both of these new characters have different goals, like I said. Mom wants to get some money, and this guy wants to go and fight Blackbeard to get some revenge. So the end goal here is to go find Marco, because according to Moms, he must have what rightfully belongs to Weeble, his inheritance. And so they look up the paper and like, nah, let's go find Luffy instead, because he might have some information that will lead us to Marco. So I'm guessing these characters are going to go to Zou. I mean, it seems like now they're going to be tracking Luffy, apparently. I guess it depends on how much we're going to do in Zou. Because to me, Zou is like a transitional arc. It feels kind of like a little bit like Punk Hazard leading up to Dressrosa, except it's going to lead to Wano. So they might eventually meet up in Wano. Let me ask you this. If this character, 7th Shichibukai Edward Jr., gets defeated, does that mean that whoever defeats him could be said to be, quote-unquote, stronger physically than what Whitebeard was during his prime. Now we go back to Luffy, and this is crazy to me. We find out they're like in the middle of like this place where there's a bunch of fucking fog. And the thing here is like the going Luffy senpai, Bartolomeo's ship has been at sea 1 week. 1 week when, so if you compare the time that it took Sanji and the others to get to Zou, I think it's significantly less than 1 week. Granted, they did have Nami as their navigator, and we find out in this chapter that Zou is a moving island. So that thing, does that elephant ever stop moving at all? Think about this. If it's been walking non-stop for 1,000 years, I'm pretty sure it's covered a significant amount of the New World territory already. You know, and that thing is fucking huge. Like, the waves of the sea have nothing on this thing. See how small the Mary looks in comparison? I mean, if that thing takes a dump, it's gonna kill everybody on that ship. And I think if you look at its back, you see kind of like the silhouettes. Well, I think you see some buildings, but you also see like the silhouette of like that volcano that erupted in one of the previous chapters. So I guess it's like a jungle that it has on its back. And then I think Law says that there's a tribe living there that's called the Mink tribe. I'm guessing that's the same type of like a wolf, you know, dog snout girl that we saw when we saw Sanji's group. Right now I just really want to know how you go about getting up there. Like, do you wait for the elephant to, like, kneel or something? Maybe, like, climb the trunk? I don't know. Because Kaido's subordinates made it up. Sanji made it up. And also, I think, wait, in the previous chapter when we saw Jack, wasn't, like, a part of, like, the front of Jack's ship, like, an elephant or a mammoth or something? You think that may be related? Maybe this elephant is, like, Kaido's pet that he can go beat up whenever he's, like, frustrated or something. It looks like a cursed elephant. So maybe there's, like, some devil fruit acting here. I don't know. It's just really cool. It's really mysterious. I like the atmosphere that it sets. I really like this chapter. Just a quick note, I like how Law now calls Usopp God. Because before that, I think it was like long-nosed Ya. You know how he uses Ya at the end? I think he calls Robin Nico Ya, Mugiwara Ya. And then Usopp kind of pulls like a Chopper kind of reaction, like, oh gosh, you're making me blush, baka. Frankie is pissed because, well, let's just face it, he's jealous. He's jealous of the God swag. Oh, and all of the crew members, they changed clothes, finally. It's a setup chapter, but it's a really good setup chapter because it gives you things, but it also creates more questions. So that's just automatically just good setup. Thank you so much for watching. Like the review if you did. I appreciate that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and comment with your thoughts down below. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.